The following program has been classified PG. Parental guidance is recommended for young viewers. It contains nudity and adult themes.
In May 2008, a picture was released from the Brazilian capital to Survival International. It was quickly picked up by the world media. It caught the public's imagination. Taken in a remote part of the Brazilian Amazon, it shows naked painted figures firing arrows at a passing plane. Who are they? Why are they there? And why was the picture and the claim that there are uncontacted tribes in the Amazon dismissed as a hoax? This is the story of a dangerous journey deep into a vast expanse of forest to find out more about the tribe in the picture. Richard Warman, veteran producer of many films about tribes in remote regions, is mounting an expedition with filmmaker Ben Young to find the truth about the tribe in the picture. Are the pictures faked? Why are these Indians there? Are they dangerous? Just who are they, and why do they remain uncontacted? To start answering these questions, Richard and Ben are making their way to Feijó, the nearest town to the tribe in the picture. They stop on a new road to look at the impact development is having on the forest.
Well, this is devastation. This is 20 years old. They've been cutting this back. Cattle are the enemy of the tribe in the picture. Bicycles, motor cars, diggers, people.
You can imagine as soon as this road is tarmacked, the whole thing's going to be
wide, and then there'll be cattle either side.
From here, they'll make the 10-day journey upriver near to where the tribe is supposed to live. While preparations are being made, some of the local townspeople are asked about the tribe. Do they think the picture is a fake?
Eu tenho certeza que lá tem índio bravo. Lá tem. Porque lá eu não vi eles ainda, mas eu já vi rastro deles nas praias.
Eu estudo que dizem que os índios de antigamente eram muito bravos e não tinham contato com os seres humanos assim. Eu acho que é isso.
Eu acho que eles são lá umas coisas abandonadas no meio da mata, né? Eu acho que é isso, né? E só veio falar que encontra ele lá, mas tá bravo, né? Se for lá pro lado dele, já ataca o pessoal.
Richard and Ben hope to find out the truth about the tribe in the picture. The next step in the journey is a meeting with a key person in the story. This is Jose Carlos Morales, the man who released the photographs. He set up 2 base camps to protect the tribe from contact with the outsiders, and has agreed to take Richard and Ben on the journey upriver to the camps. His daughter Paula and her brother Arturo work with him and are coming too. The journey upriver is dangerous. In 2004, Morales was in his canoe when 3 arrows were fired at him. One of them went through his face and exited between his jugular and spinal column. Richard and Arturo try and find boatmen willing to take them and the crew on the long journey upstream into remote territory.
Vai tirar a diária livre, né? Porque a comida, se o negócio tudo é por conta nossa.
But the boatmen seem fearful.
As pessoas acham que a gente não pode subir o rio, porque acham que nesse tempo tá muito seco. As pessoas falam, mas não conhecem, porque a gente tá lá há 20 anos já, e dá pra subir numa boa. Isso aí, o pessoal que tem medo mesmo de subir lá. As pessoas daqui acham que não tem muito pau, mas é muito raso, mas com compensação dá pra ir tranquilo.
The expedition to the base camps can only be made by canoe. There's safety in numbers and 5 boats are needed. After much negotiation, they find their boatman. With all the equipment and fuel, weight is critical, so most food will come from hunting and fishing. The guns also provide a deterrent against attack. In 10 days' time, Richard and Ben hope to be at the first base camp before trekking through forest to the second one. They won't try and make contact with the tribe in the picture, but if the tribe really exists, some evidence could help it survive. The only quick way out of the forest is by helicopter, if landing is possible. The Amazon rainforest is the most biodiverse region in the world. Home to 30% of the world's species, there are millions of different forms of life. Some are still unknown, unrecorded, or just undiscovered. The state of Acre is one of the remotest regions of Brazil. It reaches as far as the Peruvian border, and vast expanses of its forest remain intact. During the last 2 decades, Morales has spent a lot of time deep in the forest. He works for the Brazilian Indian Protection Agency, FUNAI. He claims the pictures he released to the press proves existence of uncontacted Indians in the area. But some people have dismissed them as fakes. Richard and Ben are now 2 days upriver and closer to Indian territory. There are a few settlers living here, known as Riberinos or river people. They clear small areas of forest and try and make a living from cattle rearing, fishing and cultivation. There are no roads, electricity or phone lines here. Josefa has a small farm on the river. She just spotted strangers in the forest.
Estava só pronto, né? Que nem o viado mesmo, mas não era o viado. Dia que é o índio mesmo. Eu estou com muito medo mesmo de estar aqui sozinho, mas meu menino. Não é medo mesmo. Agora.
Her neighbour Chico is an experienced woodsman and has agreed to join the expedition. He backs up Josefa's claim.
É que eu vi foi uns índios quando eu cheguei de casa, do mato. Não, eu fiquei só olhando até eles entraram no mato. Eu fiquei lá onde eu estava mesmo. Aí eles entraram na mata, aí fiquei ouvindo a carreira deles abrindo o rio. E lá eu voltei. Na mesma hora eu corri e peguei um caminho que tem pelo nome da terra, no campo, para ver se conseguia ver eles mais de perto. Eu assoviei para ver se eles olharam para mim dar com a mão, mas só que eles não olharam, né? Eu também não chamei por causa que eles não olharam. Eles tinham o cabelo comprido. Usava assim uma faixa assim amarela de uns 4 dedos de largura ou mais, amarrada assim na cintura dele.
His description bears striking resemblance to the figures in the picture. It's dawn and time to get going. The shelters used for sleeping are dismantled. Nothing is thrown away, and the cord used to bind the palms is retrieved for further use. Richard and Ben are 5 days upriver from the town, and they are entering isolated and wild territory. Constantly having to haul the canoes up rapids slows progress down. This land has been set aside for Indians only. There are no Riberinos here. They stop at an Indian village to spend the night. Perhaps they can answer some questions about the tribe in the picture. The Kampa or the Ashanika are the biggest tribe in the area. Some have gone to live in the towns, but many prefer to hold on to their customs and live in villages away from white settlements. In the past, the Kampa have been used as slaves by loggers and rubber farmers and forced to help clear isolated tribes from their villages. The Amazon rainforest has been disappearing at an average rate of 7,000 square miles a year, and as their land is taken away, many tribes have tried to defend it. Loggers and prospectors have often gone into their villages and simply shot anyone they could find. The camper had their first contact with white settlers hundreds of years ago, but many other Amazonian tribes have only been in touch with the outside world recently. Maybe there are others to be contacted. Richard is welcomed with a drink.
This is the local beer. It's got macaxeira and water, and it's fermented with spit.
While Richard's sampling the local beer and spit, Ben gets his face painted.
They are empty. And a little bit in there, but I can't go with the sediment.
Paula shows the campers some of the pictures her father Morales has taken from the air. And the villagers have some amazing revelations. They claim the tribe in the picture was responsible for a kidnapping.
A criança, ó, na mulher. Rapaz é grande. Mais alto assim. Mais alto? Mais alto. Frecha é algo grande. Rapaz, acabou comigo. Rapaz, acabou comigo. Quando grita, a gente vai para baixo aí, a gente vai... Aí, acabou. Correu. Foi embora. Levaram o menino dele assim. Levou? Jogou lá no mato. Correu tudo.
Paula's father Morales is trying to protect the uncontacted tribes by setting aside an area just for them and leaving them in isolation. But what do the Camper Indians think of this policy?
E agora, Cabo Bravo está roubando, vou matar o pessoal. E não mata ele, não? Não, tira ele. Vou matar ele. Não mata nenhuma. Ah, rapaz. Nunca matei ele também, já vou embora. Acabou o velho de ter merece. Ele não mata não, deixa ele. Ele parente, não foi matar o parente, né?
Back on the river we meet Joe Ashanika, a camper teacher. He too has strong views about the tribe in the picture.
O pessoal que está lá, né, o Meirelles, não sei se ele vai conseguir amansar, acho que ele não vai conseguir amansar ele não. Como ele está fazendo aí, ele não vai amansar. A pessoa só vai amansar ele, o cara chegar perto e pegar ele, né? Como meu avô antigo, ele amansou assim, muitas vezes. Pegou, trouxe e amansou e mandou trazer outro pessoal, ele veio.
The boats are entering the dangerous territory demarcated for uncontacted Indians. This is close to the place where Morales was shot through the neck. Richard Warman and Ben Young are making the long and dangerous journey into one of the remotest parts of the Amazon rainforest to find the truth about the uncontacted tribe, photographed from the air. The forest provides good cover for any aggressor. An open canoe is a sitting target. With the river low, the boats are sometimes very close to the bank. After 10 days on the river, finally Richard and Ben arrive at the first base camp. This base camp was set up near the Peruvian border after reports of isolated Indians had been received by FUNAI, the Indian Protection Agency. Morales started building it in 1987 and has spent most of his time in this remote place ever since. He identified the locations of uncontacted Indians by making aerial surveys. Although he keeps these flights to a minimum, he's able to monitor their numbers and well-being. In 2004, he was nearly killed. He believes it could be by a member of a tribe like this one.
Eu fui pescar domingo. Saí daqui desse porto com uma canoa sozinho. Recebi uma flechada, dessa uma flecha parecida com essa, mas só que era outra. Atravessou o rosto, atravessou o pescoço e saiu aqui, na nuca, um palmo aqui atrás. Eu arranquei a flecha, pulei na água, atravessei o rio. Estava com o pescoço meio duro. Felizmente não pegou a carótida nem a coluna cervical, senão tinha morrido.
Marilis was able to radio for help. A military helicopter arrived 2 hours later and took him to hospital. Despite massive blood loss, he was saved. He thinks tribes like this one may have come over from Peru fleeing illegal loggers who often shoot them on sight. This Funai footage from 1989 shows unidentified corpses found in the Chavare River. They'd been shot. There were people from the uncontacted Kurubu tribe and were probably killed by illegal loggers. A Funai team made contact with the Kurubu. The goal of the contact was to monitor their survival and persuade them to keep away from the forest areas where loggers operate. Funai can monitor their well-being, but contact with the outsiders has resulted in the Kurubu contracting malaria, influenza and other new diseases to which they have no immunity. The Amazon was home to hundreds of indigenous nations, each with their own languages and customs. When settlers started arriving from Portugal and Spain, they needed the labour and the skills of the Indians to survive, and native resistance was met with gunfire. Many Indians fled into the forest to escape the oppressors who brought war and disease. It's possible that some of them formed the tribes living in isolation which Marilis is trying to protect. Richard and Ben visit another camper village downriver. The camper or Ashanika live in land especially demarcated for them. It borders the area Funai has set aside for the uncontacted tribes only. This is causing tension.
Será que ele vem para sair? Ele não sai não. Ele está soprando. Para chamar atrás dele, ele vai matar, para matar a gente. Ele não vai sair, não massa nunca para amassar. Como pode amassar? Aí ele mesmo, mas ele não pode sair. Como nós está falando, aquele compadre Meirelles, ele ficou lá, ele vai amassar, né? Aí não sabe filha dele, como ele fala, né? Aí depois ele tá andando aí ataca com o flecha nele, com o compadre Meirelles. E eu tô culpado comigo também, eu queria ir para atrás dele, para arrastar, né? Ele quer fazer como ele faz também com o Meirelles aí, ó. Aí fala, chama ele aqui, tu não vai flecha comigo. Vem cá, eu tava com presente vocês, ter roupa para vestir, né?
This camper elder seems to think Marilis should pacify the isolated tribes. They have seen and heard figures trying to steal valuable items like cooking pots and machetes, but can't communicate with them because they've got a different language. These camper elders think pots could be the answer.
Não pode se massar. Agora índio assim, levando roupa, leva tudo panela. Índio tá... Como é índio? Tá animado, índio animar. Tá animado índio. Ó, parente, tá aí panela, tá aqui, panela. Tá índio.
Essa panela não acaba. E a gente, é igual que nós estamos usando de panela de barro. Panela de barro, a gente leva, a mulher leva assim, para carregar, quebra. Esse daqui não quebra. Pode soltar, é alumínio, solta a massa, mas não quebra.
Marilis has spotted what appears to be a metal cooking pot on this photograph. It's probably been stolen from one of the neighbouring groups of Indians. This supports what the Camper have said about the tribe in the picture stealing from them. They find or grow cotton, which is spun and woven into cloth. Here is a bale of cotton and a basket for collecting it. We can see that the men wear cotton waistbands and the women wear skirts. They are completely self-sufficient and their community seems to be thriving, just like an Indian village might have been 500 years ago, before the arrival of the white settlers. Like the tribe in the picture, the Camper collect everything they need for making clothes from the forest. These looms are made from a few sticks and may be similar to the ones used by the uncontacted Indians. The Camper will depend on bows and arrows to survive. The process of arrow making is long and laborious. They have the luxury of metal tools and nylon cord. But newly made arrows from uncontacted tribes have been found recently which have been cut using animal teeth. Cutting the hard tips would be extremely time-consuming using teeth. Morales believes that overflights cause the isolated tribes confusion and stress. They fire at the planes and many valuable arrows needed for hunting are lost. As a result, Morales tries to limit his aerial surveys to a minimum. As night draws in on the Camper village, some worrying news emerges.
E aí agora tá aparecendo o índio bravo agora. Aí Tetel deixou lá no remanso, onde tava remanso grande, onde tava o final do Irã caiu. Aí deixou o índio bravo lá. Aí olhou o Tetel ali atrás, já veio o índio bravo, atrás dele. Foi o Tetel cair dentro do rio. Aí nadando, atravessando do outro lado. O índio bravo atrás dele.
Nem brincadeira não, acabou muito. Então ficaram lá por uma tipo de praia aí, lá em cima. Lá no remanso. Aí vai atrás de noite. Cuidado. Hoje cuidado o pessoal, tudo. Hoje a costa toda não dorme bem não. Aí vem, acabou o bravo, nem brincadeira não.
Ele cai morrendo, vai. Amigosa. Ya vai, suma choi, ninguém tá ali, a gente suma choi.
Olha o cara.
Agora ninguém tá.
We're sleeping right on the edge of the village, and they keep saying to us to be careful. You can probably hear the dogs barking. Well, we'll tell you what happened in the morning.
Richard and Ben have spent the night on the edge of an Indian settlement. They've been told to be careful as isolated Indians were close by. It's now morning. Nothing has been taken and everyone is safe at the Camper village. But while Richard and Ben were downriver, Morales was attacked.
Naquele garapé tem uma volta, tem um barranco alto. Essa flecha aqui, a primeira flecha, o índio jogou uma flecha lá de cima do barranco, entrou atrás do Chicão, desse nosso companheiro. Passou assim e bateu na canoa. Tanto é que ela tá com a ponta quebrada, que ela foi na canoa. E essa daqui, aí eu olhei pro lado do barranco, aí vi a outra saindo de lá. vinha numa direção, eu afastei, ela passou assim e entrou na água.
He can identify the bamboo tips from the other side of the border. He thinks the blue cord used to tie the flights was stolen from one of his own boats. It's stronger than the twine from the forest and shows that the tribe in the picture are not only fearless and resourceful, but they are also watching what's going on around them. Morales is returning to the site where he was shot at to have a look around.
Os índios ficaram lá na beira do barranco, dormiram lá e estavam esperando alguém passar lá para atacar, né? Tá aqui, ó. Estou contornando o pé dele, ó. Estou fazendo o desenho do pé dele, ó. Tá vendo aqui? Tá aqui o dedo, tá aqui o outro, tá aqui o outro, tá aqui o outro. É dessa largura o pé dele aqui, ó. Né? Pois é, aqui tá onde eles estavam sentados aqui, olhando para o rio, esperando a pessoa passar. Cortaram esse galho aqui. Muito provavelmente ele deve ter flechado o Chicão, ou assim aqui, ou provavelmente assim, que é o mais certo.
Morales believes that isolated groups like the tribe in the picture should not be fired at when they attack, and that it should be left to them to make contact.
Eu acho que eles devem permanecer isolados por vários motivos. Primeiro, estatisticamente a gente sabe que quando você faz contato com um povo desse, depois do primeiro ano de contato, 2/3 da população está morta. Então isso não é contato, é genocídio. Essa é a primeira. O segundo motivo é uma questão de respeito. Se esses povos permanecem isolados aí no meio do mato e não querem contato com a gente, por que não respeitar esse direito que eles têm?
The isolated Indians are being forced into ever smaller regions. These NASA satellite pictures show how the forest is being eaten away by logging. Peru has given over 70% of its Amazonian rainforest to oil and gas exploration. This often leads to road building into the forest, which provides access for illegal loggers. Morales hopes that he can prove the existence of the uncontacted tribes and make the public aware of them. This will improve their chances of survival. But the tribes assume that all strangers are a threat to them and their environment. This is why they attack. Morales' daughter Paula runs the second base camp further north. Her camp was visited by one of the isolated tribes.
Foi até no sábado, os homens tinham saído para caçar. Eu fiquei sozinha em casa com a cozinheira. Pensando na vida, despreocupada, e passou uma flecha, raspando o meu rosto. A minha atitude na hora foi de sair correndo para o barracão, me trancar lá e esperar os homens chegar.
Morales' base camp had a dramatic visit from strangers in 1998, while he was out demarcating land.
Como essa picada passava perto de uma aldeia de índios isolados, os índios devem ter confundido essa demarcação com alguma ameaça a eles. O que eles fizeram? Os índios vieram aqui, colocaram fogo em tudo que tinha aqui. Queimou casa, barracão, cozinha, queimou tudo. As pessoas que estavam aqui na base conseguiram se safar levando só um rádio e a roupa do corpo. 2 dias depois, esses índios cercaram a gente lá no mato. Nós ficamos cercados lá. Eu fiquei com medo de voltar para cá. Nós tínhamos um rádio, entramos em contato com Brasília. A coordenação de índios isolados de Brasília entrou em contato com o Exército Brasileiro. Nós fizemos uma clareira, porque esses índios eles machucam a ponta da flecha e jogam a flecha com fogo, e se pegar na palha, queima. De lá todo mundo voltou para suas casas e tal. Depois eu voltei para cá e reconstruí tudo isso aqui, colocando alumínio nas casas por problema de fogo.
Because of the increased danger to the expedition, Richard must return to the town to sign further government documents. But there's not much fuel left, so he must make the dangerous trip back with only one boat. And he'll miss the next stage of the journey to the second base camp in the heart of the isolated Indian territory. The second base camp can only be contacted by radio, and Paula's having problems getting through. She's keen to get on with the expedition and will start the journey tomorrow with Ben and the guides. It's going to involve several days trekking through one of the wildest and most dangerous parts of the Amazon rainforest, taking the team close to the tribe in the picture. Contact with the tribe will be avoided, but will they attack? This is where our journey will take us next. Before they leave for the second base camp, Morales shows Ben and the guides the pictures.
Tem muita munição para gastar, né? E essa daqui, e o cabo vai lá tranquilo aqui pela mata, o cabo não deixa o rastro de canto.
E o que vocês acham se contactar eles lá? O que vocês acham que geralmente acontece? Se ir lá visitar eles?
Eles vão querer reagir. Se você chegar em... Nem que você não for lá, mas se você entrar em contato assim, entrar no ritmo de querer encontrar com eles, eles vão querer reagir da maneira mais possível que eles. Não.
The isolated Indians tend not to attack larger groups, so 7 people are going on a journey to the second base camp. Everyone's been told to be vigilant and stay together. Canoes are taken as far as possible to carry equipment. They'll be hidden when they can go no further. Most of the guys are armed. Then Chico hears something moving in the bush. It's an anaconda. They move quickly through water and attack by constricting their prey. The porters think this snake could follow them upstream.
Ele vai voltar de novo. Rapaz, aí esse cara pegar deixa descer primeiro de roubar pra testar. Não pode ficar olhando não, porque se a imprensa aí a mata. Deixa só um pouquinho. Aí, ó. Sacando uma cama pra cá. Ele não vai mais não, ele já vai morrer.
It seems brutal that such a magnificent creature should be killed in this way. But anacondas can pose as a big threat. When Richard Warman visited the Kurugu tribe in 1998, he witnessed a horrifying event. A Kurugu child was taken while they were filming. Of all the dangers isolated tribes face, strangers are the biggest threat. But Morales needs to prove their existence in order to preserve their land. This is the purpose of this dangerous expedition. In the past, if uncontacted Indians weren't shot, other techniques were used to pacify them. This Camper chief agrees with those methods and describes them.
Como você lá no Juruá também, né? Aí tem também, como ele, aquele cara aí, ele fez também, né? Perguntava ele. Aí depois ele faltava, ele está sendo conhecido. Aí ele derrubou com uma antena, né? Quando ele passa, ele encaixou, ele cai, né? Então, sabe, aquela, como ele faz, né? Aí, trabalhando aquelas máquinas assim, quando ele passa aí, quando ele cai, sim, vamos lá, aí vai. Aí viu com ele aí, vamos levar na família.
Essa região aqui, existem 4 grupos de índios isolados nessa região. No entorno desses índios isolados moram os índios Campa, que são os Axanica, moram os índios Culina, que são os Madirá, moram os Caxinauá. Tanto os Madirá como os Axanica, como os Caxinauá, acham que a gente tem que fazer contato com esses índios isolados da maneira mais rápida possível. E conversando com eles, você ouve vários tipos de proposições. Por exemplo, dar um tiro no índio isolado, quebrar a perna dele, pegar e levar para casa, amansar, como eles dizem, depois soltar ele para ele buscar o resto do pessoal e coisas do gênero. Eles fazem isso para reproduzir o mesmo discurso, os mesmos fatos que ocorreram com os avós deles. A proposta nossa nessa região é preservar esses povos isolados do jeito que eles são, ou seja, isolados.
One day into the trek and disaster struck. Lewis, one of the Indian guides, has been bitten on the foot by a small snake. One of the other Indian porters uses a traditional cure to reduce the swelling. Amazonian Indians have an extensive knowledge of herbal remedies. The tribe in the picture can be seen wearing some kind of herb around their waist. It could have magic properties, or perhaps it's another Amazonian cure waiting to be discovered by the Western drug companies. Lewis is taken back to the base camp for more treatment. With 2 less guides, there is extra weight for others to carry, and the party is also more vulnerable to attack. Ben is now in the heart of the uncontacted Indian area, a few miles from their village. There is no other direct route between the base camps, so being this close is unavoidable. The stream has become too shallow to continue with the canoes. They're hidden and the group continue on foot. Then, the silence is broken.
Somente a carreira deles, não sabe? Nós corremos para nós ver o que era. Cheguei meio até o lado dele, nós corremos. Até aqui, foi rato. Mas aí quando nós chegamos aqui, eles já tinham subido aí. E aí nós ficamos aqui esperando vocês. Aí não vi mais, e eles mesmo não viram não. Nós só vimos, foi só a água balançando.
The team thinks 3 men and a woman heard them approaching and ran into the forest.
Ela subiu um aqui, né? Ela subiu mais aqui dois, né? Subiu dois pra cá. Subiu um aqui, subiu. Era 4, então.
Era mesmo? Repara aí, ó.
Joga o palho em cima, tá vendo? Só que quando eles vão embora, eles pegam essas palhas aqui, botam em cima do fogo, que é pra pessoa passar e não ver. Aqui um mangará de banana, outro e outro. Ainda tem banana verde. Isso aqui é uma bananinha, chama banana najá, que é uma bananinha que come assada verde. E provavelmente dormiram aí, passaram a noite aí, ó, deitado aí.
Morelli's his policy is not to fire at them, even if they fire at you, not to fire back.
Well,
Paul has just asked me to hold the gun so that if there's anyone watching from the side, they'll see that we're armed.
The Indian guides have shot a monkey and prepare it for supper. The team sleep close together.
Eu, particularmente, tenho duas teorias, né, para explicar esse ataque, esses dois ataques desses índios. Como esses índios, muito provavelmente, são os índios que estão vindo do Peru, e lá no Peru eles estão sendo expulsos do território deles por madeireiros, eles chegam aqui, encontram a gente e pensam que a gente deve ser madeireiro. Isso é uma hipótese, né? A segunda hipótese é porque o povo, esse povo de etnia pano, alguns povos Jaminawa, eles têm um ritual de passagem que os rapazes só viram homens depois que matam uma pessoa. Se caso for a primeira, eles estão nos confundindo com madeireiro, logo eles vão ver que a gente não é. E possivelmente os ataques parem. Agora, se for o ritual de passagem, né, eu espero que eles matem outra pessoa, não a gente, para fazer o ritual deles.
This is the first night inside the forest and everyone feels on edge. Raymondino is an experienced guide.
Dá 9 homens tá meio firme também, né? Do jeito nós temos medo deles, também tem de nós, né? Na descida eles podem esperar a gente numa tucaia aí e querer flechar a gente, né? É perigoso, porque tem uns 15 mais ou menos nos bandos. E é muito perigoso a pessoa ser ofendida lá pra cá. Daqui pra lá não tem muito perigo, que eles aí já desceram, né? Perigoso é ele ficar prestando atenção, o barco subiu, vai descer, né?
They were pretty worried about the isolated Indians that being attacked, and they all got guns. They all sleep very close together to work against them, which is Mexico, victim of security.
On this journey through isolated Indian territory, there have been many footprints found which can only belong to uncontacted Indians. Filmmaker Ben Young has spent a sleepless night in the forest, and the next day, more footprints are discovered. The porters know that many of these footprints are fresh. The isolated Indians could be watching. Ben and the others move away from the stream and cut through the forest. Everyone stays close together. Then Chico hears something. There's definitely something out there. Two of the porters walk towards the noise. The team waits. It's a deer. The meat will provide food for the rest of the trip. This area, demarcated for isolated Indians, is prime hunting territory, as well as being rich in other resources. But who owns the land?
As terras indígenas são terras da União. Muito já se discutiu e algumas pessoas pensam que os índios devem ter o título das terras. Eu penso que se for entregar o título da terra aos índios, pode se correr um risco de uma grande maioria das terras indígenas serem vendidas e serem adquiridas por particulares.
Finally, the second base camp is reached. All's well. Paul has been running this base camp on the Douro River for 4 years.
Se o índio vê branco aí para dentro, eles vão flechar, dar tiro, seja lá o que for. Mas assim, eu sempre falo para eles que aqui é território deles, eles podem andar à vontade. Só não pode atacar a gente.
Since the pictures were released, the existence of the isolated tribes in the area have been denied by some groups, and the authenticity of the actual pictures has come into question too.
E os madeireiros peruanos também dizem isso. Que não tem índio isolado, isso é conversa de maluquice de ambientalista.
While he has to convince the outside world of the existence of isolated Indians, Morales also has to persuade local Indians that his policy of non-contact is the right policy, and he faces a lot of opposition.
Nós mesmos vamos pegar, se alguma pessoa não poder amansar ele, nós vamos amansar ele. Vamos convidar a comunidade, vamos ir na comunidade dele, rastejando no rastro, tem que pegar ele para poder amansar. Aí por isso que a gente queremos demarcação da terra só uma só. Não vai demarcar pedaço cada uma pessoa não. Porque ele lá na mata, ele não está sabendo se ele tem terra demarcada, né? Não está sabendo. Porque aqui que nós estamos fora, está sabendo tudo. Tem que falar dele também. Estou falando dele, ajudando ele também. Para demarcar terra só para nós e para ele também.
This sign is many days' journey from the nearest town and marks the border with Peru and Brazil.
Como os índios isolados não reconhecem essas fronteiras, do lado do peruano está havendo uma grande exploração de madeira. E esses índios estão migrando do Peru para o Brasil. O que a gente discute, o que a gente reivindica da FUNAI, do governo brasileiro, é que uma política de proteção não pode chegar até aqui, exatamente nesse lugar, e parar aqui. Você não pode proteger a natureza, nem os índios até aqui, daqui para cá não. Se a gente não proteger essa região do lado de lá e do lado de cá, nós não estamos fazendo nada.
Morales has helped organize an exhibition in Rio Branco, the capital of Acre. He hopes to bring people around to his policy of protecting the isolated Indians through non-contact.
It's our responsibility to maintain, to protect them, because they are 100% self-sustainable by themselves and the environment. We need to learn from them. They don't have anything to learn from us.
uma questão de direito fundamental de existir, né? E isso é o que a gente faz, minimamente, é garantir esse direito, tentar garantir esse direito a esses povos. Como? Protegendo o território deles, deixando o território deles livre de invasões, de madeireiros, de qualquer tipo de ingerência externa que modifique o território deles. Esses povos têm o direito de viver isolados aí até o dia que eles quiserem. E se for depender de mim, isso ainda vai demorar um tempo.
The Amazon rainforest is the most biodiverse region in the world. Home to 30% of the world's species, there are millions of different forms of life. Some are still unknown, unrecorded, or just undiscovered. The state of Acre is one of the remotest regions of Brazil. It reaches as far as the Peruvian border, and vast expanses of its forests remain intact. During the last 2 decades, Morales has spent a lot of time deep in the forest. He works for the Brazilian Indian Protection Agency, FUNAI. He claims the pictures he released to the press proves existence of uncontacted Indians in the area. But some people have dismissed them as fakes. Richard and Ben are now 2 days upriver and closer to Indian territory. There are a few settlers living here, known as Riberinos or river people. They clear small areas of forest and try and make a living from cattle rearing, fishing and cultivation. There are no roads, electricity or phone lines here. Josefa has a small farm on the river. Richard and Ben hope to find out the truth about the tribe in the picture. The next step in the journey is a meeting with a key person in the story. This is Jose Carlos Morales, the man who released the photographs. He set up 2 base camps to protect the tribe from contact with the outsiders, and has agreed to take Richard and Ben on the journey upriver to the camps. His daughter Paula and her brother Arturo work with him and are coming too. The journey upriver is dangerous. In 2004, Morales was in his canoe when 3 arrows were fired at him. One of them went through his face and exited between his jugular and spinal column. Richard and Arturo try and find boatmen willing to take them and the crew on the long journey upstream into remote territory.
Vai tirar a diária livre, né? Porque a comida, se o negócio tudo é por conta nossa.
But the boatmen seem fearful.
As pessoas acham que a gente não pode subir o rio, porque acham que nesse tempo tá muito seco. As pessoas falam, mas não conhecem, porque a gente tá lá há 20 anos já. E dá pra subir numa boa. Isso aí, o pessoal...
Just who are they, and why do they remain uncontacted? To start answering these questions, Richard and Ben are making their way to Feijó, the nearest town to the tribe in the picture. They stop on a new road to look at the impact development is having on the forest.
Well, this is devastation. This is 20 years old. They've been cutting this back. Cattle of the enemy of the tribe in the picture. Bicycles, motor cars, diggers, people.
You can imagine as soon as this road is tarmacked, the whole thing's going to be
wide, and then there'll be cattle either side.
From here, they'll make the 10-day journey upriver near to where the tribe is supposed to live. While preparations are being made, some of the local townspeople are asked about the tribe. Do they think the picture is a fake?
Eu tenho certeza que lá tem um índio bravo. Lá tem. Porque lá eu não vi eles ainda, mas eu já vi rastro deles nas praias.
Eu estudo que dizem que os índios de antigamente eram muito bravos e não tinham contato com seres humanos assim. Eu acho que é isso.
Eu acho que eles são lá umas coisas abandonadas no meio da mata, né? Eu acho que é isso, né? E só veio falar que contra ele lá, mas tá bravo, né? Se for lá pro lado dele, já ataca o pessoal.
Tem medo mesmo de subir lá. As pessoas daqui acham que não tem muito pau, mas é muito raso, mas com compensação dá para ir tranquilo.
The expedition to the base camps can only be made by canoe. There's safety in numbers and 5 boats are needed. After much negotiation, they find their boatman. With all the equipment and fuel, weight is critical, so most food will come from hunting and fishing. The guns also provide a deterrent against attack. In 10 days' time, Richard and Ben hope to be at the first base camp before trekking through forest to the second one. They won't try and make contact with the tribe in the picture, but if the tribe really exists, some evidence could help it survive. The only quick way out of the forest is by helicopter, if landing is possible.
The following program has been classified PG. Parental guidance is recommended for young viewers. It contains nudity and adult themes.
In May 2008, a picture was released from the Brazilian capital to Survival International. It was quickly picked up by the world media. It caught the public's imagination. Taken in a remote part of the Brazilian Amazon, it shows naked painted figures firing arrows at a passing plane. Who are they? Why are they there? And why was the picture and the claim that there are uncontacted tribes in the Amazon dismissed as a hoax? This is the story of a dangerous journey deep into a vast expanse of forest to find out more about the tribe in the picture. Richard Warman, veteran producer of many films about tribes in remote regions, is mounting an expedition with filmmaker Ben Young to find the truth about the tribe in the picture. Are the pictures faked? Why are these Indians there? Are they dangerous?